Hello everyone, this is MC Deck Discussions and I'm Abismal, and today we have another demo playthrough, this time with Iceman going up against Expert Captain America. For those who aren't familiar with the demo playthroughs, it's not a full game playthrough, it's showing the beginning of a game and then pausing the recording, and then after things have been built out a bit and we're further along in the game, I unpause and then continue playing the game. That way people can see the game in action, the deck in action, excuse me. So I will have time stamps per usual. So what I'm going to do is first show the setup for Captain America, and then go ahead and share the deck for Iceman that we're using here, and then we'll come back, do the initial play, the initial round, pause, show later on. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get the setup going. So first of all, the setup, skip down to in cooperative mode, find the chosen leader side scheme and reveal it. So here is Captain America's side scheme. Notice it has when defeated, attach Cap's shield to Captain America. He activates against the player who defeated this scheme. The implication there is that he can lose the shield, and he can, so we'll see that in a little bit. It has the amplify icon and 3 threat on it. And then let's flip that over to the main scheme. And we can ignore the first part as a single player game. When revealed, the enemy team searches the encounter deck for 1 per person minions and deals 1 to each player on your team as a face down encounter card. So I have already gotten a minion out of the encounter deck, and here it is. And I chose the one that is clearly the most challenging. So you'll see who that is in a little bit, because I would assume that they would choose the most challenging minion going up against me. So that's what I decided to do, to try to make that as tough against me as possible. All right, and then let's go to Captain America. His setup is the enemy team finds Cap's shield and attaches it to Captain America. So here is Cap's shield. It's a permanent attached to Captain America. Attached character gains retaliate 1. So I have a little, if you look over here where my mouse pointer is, I have a damage token to help represent that, so I remember to do it. And then attacks against whoever is holding the shield lose piercing. I don't have any piercing on my side, so that won't matter in this particular game. So we won't really have to worry about that. Has a forced response after a hero or the Captain America leader uses their ATK to attack and damage attached character. Attach Cap's shield to the attacker. So that's how we can take the shield away. But note that Captain America has one more thing to keep in mind, which is his forced response. After Cap's shield is attached to Captain America, give him a tough status. So he currently has a tough status on him, and so that's what's going to make it tougher to take it away from him. He'll have some trouble taking it away from us too, though, if we steal it, because of course we can defend with allies. And so that could prevent us from taking damage from Captain America. And then Iceman has the ability to, neutralize attacks in multiple ways. So that's another way we might prevent that from happening. Okay, so that's it for the setup for Captain America. And let's go ahead and go to the Iceman deck now. And as you can see, looking at the hand that I've drawn, it is going to be a protection deck. All right, so the name of the deck is the Eternal X-Men, and this is the second deck of 2. I did a 2-deck discussion, a 2-deck comparison video, and so this is the second deck. And we have, again, it's Iceman in protection, 42 cards in this deck. And so I'll briefly go through what's been added to the deck, and I'll pause. I'm not going to go over the details of each of these allies, but I'll pause briefly. So if anybody wants to remind themselves the abilities of any ally, they can go ahead and pause the video. So we have Armor, Beak, Forge, Gambit, Legion, Polaris, Professor X, Rockslide, Rogue, Triage, and White Queen. And then in the events, we have no added events. Player side scheme, we have Superpower Training, which is meant to get cryokinetic perception in play. But if it's already in play, then we have a good backup with the Power Belt and a backup even as well with Frozen Solid. So there's always some good choices there. For resource cards, we have the usual 3 doubles. For supports, we have Cerebro, Team Building Exercise, the X-Jet, and Utopia. So Cerebro's in here in particular because we do want to get these allies in play because of the upgrades we have. So the upgrades that we particularly care about there are 3 copies of Protective Training, which makes it so the attached ally gets +3 hit points, and 2 copies of Energy Shield, which has this interrupt: when attached character would take any amount of damage, spend X energy resources, prevent X of that damage. So these can keep an ally in play much longer as well. So this is why it's called the Eternal X-Men. We're meant to get some of these allies in play. Some of these allies that we get into play, we're meant to keep into play. In particular, we really care about possibly getting Rock Slide out to get that 3 attack each round. I don't really care about his Retaliate. I don't usually defend with him, but I do care about that 3 attack. And then Rogue, who has this ability: action, deal 1 damage to another friendly character. Until the end of the round, Rogue gains each of that character's traits and adds that character's printed thwart and attack to her matching powers, limit once per round. So those are two main targets. Once in a while, Legion sometimes is a target for me for Protective Training, but any of them can be, if they have 2 thwart or 2 attack, then they're pretty legitimate target for Protective Training as well. And then in addition, we have 3 copies of Ready for a Fight, because we do want to go to Alter Ego side to be able to use Cerebro, and also just to get the bigger hand size as well. So we have the 3 copies of Ready for a Fight for that. But also, Frozen Solid can help us go down to Alter Ego side, as well as possibly Gambit, actually, depending upon what cards we see. And then there's also Professor X. So we have a lot of options to go to Alter Ego side in this deck. All right, let's head on over to the gameplay now. Okay, so first thing is to decide whether or not I'm going to mulligan, because there are, let me go back to the deck. There are 4 cards that any one of those 4 I would like to start off in play with. So let me go ahead and show what those 4 cards are real quickly. All right, so those 4 cards include Team Building Exercise, the X-Jet, Utopia, or Cryokinetic Perception. So those are the 4 main targets. Wouldn't mind having Cerebro out as well. That's a great card to have initially too. But those other ones to me are the more important ones to get into play. All right, so now let's head back and see what we have. Okay, so we don't have any of those in our hand. Oh, let's go to full screen again. All right, so we don't have any of those in our hand, right? We have Snow Clone, Triage, Ice Blast, and 2 copies of Energy Shield plus Forge. However, Forge can get us one of those X-Men traded supports. So I think I'm going to actually just keep this hand and go ahead and utilize a Forge to get us one of those. So we have several good targets for that. So let's go ahead and play Forge right off the bat. So I'm not going to want the Energy Shields right away, so I'm just going to ditch those and get Forge into play. And then we get an X-Men support added to our hand. So let's check for those X-Men supports. So let's narrow it down to just the supports. So we can choose between the X-Jet, Cerebro I'm not going to choose, or Utopia. So one of those, the X-Jet or Utopia. I might choose Utopia, actually. Although the X-Jet, if I get that into play, it can serve to help us rather well as, for getting more cards into play later on. But I think I'm going to get the X-Jet because I have 2 more allies, and I'm not going to be able to play one of those right away. But as you'll see in a little bit, getting allies out to protect Iceman is actually pretty essential at the beginning of this game. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to choose Utopia in this case. All right, let's shuffle that back up. And let's flip over to Iceman's side, and let's get Utopia in. So we'll get rid of that, and I think I want to keep Triage in this case, maybe. No, actually, I'm going to keep Snow Clone. So we paid with Ice Blast and Triage, and we're going to get Utopia out. And I like putting this little marker here. That's the one that reminds me that it can do something special like this, and that is, in this case, we'll be able to, after an X-Men ally enters play, we can exhaust Utopia and ready another X-Men character. Okay, now let's go ahead and let Forge thwart for 1 on Fearless Determination, and I think I'm going to do the same with Iceman. All right, and then let's ready up, and draw our hand. Ooh, interesting. Got some okay. Yeah, I can live with that. All right. And then let's go ahead and do Captain America's first turn. So add 1 threat to the main scheme, and Captain America is going to attack. I am going to defend with Forge, and that attack does 2 damage plus the amplify, so 3 damage. And then exhaust a character you control. That's a bummer. All right, so let's exhaust Iceman. And but that does defeat Forge. And then we're going to go ahead and reveal Namor. And Namor has 1 scheme 1 attack, has the Atlantis and Elite trait, Stalwart, Toughness, and Villainous. And when revealed, Namor activates against you. So Namor is going to activate right away here. So let's go ahead and get a boost card, and he's attacking for 1 and reveal this card. So he only attacks for 1, so let's take that 1 point of damage, and let's reveal this card right over here next to Captain America. Attached to Captain America, Captain America gains Stalwart. All right, good to know. Hero response: after you make a basic attack against Captain America, spend 3 resources of the same type and discard this card. Okay. All right. So that's it. So, but just to kind of foresee what I'm going to do here, right? I'm going to want to get Iceman readied. So I'll play one of the snow clones initially, right? And then I'll play ready for a fight and be able to go down to alter ego and get a nice bigger hand size and maybe really get things rolling. So you can see, kind of predict what I'm going to do there. And then, like I said before, though, at this point, at this point, I will pause the video. And then when I unpause it, I'll give an update of the board state and then continue the game from there. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. I just realized I forgot one thing, and that's because I never ended up using Iceman's ability here, the freeze ability. Interrupt when Iceman makes a basic attack or defense against an enemy. Attach a set-aside copy of Frostbite to that enemy. Well, I don't have the Frostbites out here over on the side. So let me go ahead and generate those so you can see how that occurs in this game. So I can spawn cards, and I'm going to spawn it on the player 1 area here. And we need Frostbite. Here we go. So I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he starts with 6. Let me go to the alter ego side so you can see that. Bobby Drake begins the game with 6 Frostbite upgrades set aside. He has 4 recovery. And I might as well mention this ability too, so that if I use it later, you already know what's going on. He has the cool off response. After you change to this form, shuffle 1 ice card from your discard pile into your deck for each copy of Frostbite in play. All right, so now let's put these aside. So there's 6 copies of them. And then after this, I'll pause the video again. Oops, that detach that. Okay, there we go. So now I'll go ahead and pause again, and we'll see you in a bit. Okay, I think this is a pretty interesting place to start back up, so we'll start here. All right, so a couple of things. Notice Captain America is still in stage 3. So I haven't defeated that stage yet. And he still has this Cap's helmet in play. I think he had that earlier when I had shown at the beginning. So we haven't gotten rid of that. So he has actually 3 scheme currently. And he has 6 threat on the main scheme. And it's still the first main scheme. And he also has Ruler of Atlantis in play. If we have any Atlantis minions out, they can't take damage. So we've got to take care of this soon. And then we have Playing with Fire in play as a side scheme as well. When defeated, the player who defeated this, well, I'll read it when we defeat it, has an acceleration token on it, though. And notice this other one has an amplify token. And then Pyro is out in play, who has Quick Strike. He just finished attacking me with his indirect 3 points of indirect damage, taking out a tough status card that I had. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and start on my play then. All right. Well, I was hoping to keep Rogue in play, but I think I'm going to use Rogue to defeat Pyro. So let's go ahead and attack for 2, do 1 point of damage to Iceman to do 2 more, and that defeats Pyro, and also Rogue ends up going out of play there. He gets defeated by consequential damage. And then we're going to go ahead and use Team Building Exercise to play Rock Slide here. So we'll go with this. So 1, 2, so that reduces his cost by 1. Then we have 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and we'll get Rock Slide out. That'll trigger Utopia to get Iceman ready. Iceman is then going to attack Captain America for 2 damage. Oops. For 2 damage. And put a frostbite on him. Okay. And that's going to trigger cryokinetic perception, and we'll draw a card. Okay. And then we're going to need to get rid of a couple of threat here. So I'd like to attack with Rock Slide, but I'm going to use Armor to get rid of 1 threat on the main scheme, and Rock Slide to get rid of another, because we have this acceleration token, so we got to get at least 2 off of there so it doesn't just trigger right off the bat. All right. And then, let's see, X-Men, 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 all their traits are, okay. And then I think we're just going to stay on this side then. And let's ready up and draw our hand size. Oh, Professor X, nice. Okay, so it's going to be Captain America attacking here. So he's attacking for 2 and -1, so he's actually attacking for 1 because of the frostbite. And we're going to use Armor to defend. And that's another 3, that's 3 damage actually altogether, defeating Armor. And then, oh, I forgot to add the acceleration token here. I forgot to add 2 threat to the main scheme first. Okay, and then let's get an encounter card. When revealed, discard an upgrade or support you control. Okay. Which one? We might go with Cerebro, actually. Yes, we're just going to get rid of Cerebro. Okay. Okay. All right, so now it's our turn, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to want to play Professor X, but let's go ahead and attack with Iceman right away, dealing 2 more damage. Oh, I forgot to get rid of that frostbite. Before we do that 2 damage, we have the interrupt with his ability, and so we get a frostbite on there, and he takes 2 damage. He's down to 1. Okay. And then that triggers cryokinetic perception, which draws us a card, and it's an ice traded card, so we ready Iceman. Okay, so I think we're going to go for this. We're not going to be able to do any more damage, but that's okay. We're going to want to focus on this. So let's go ahead and attack once more with Iceman, putting on another frostbite and bringing us down to 0 damage. And so that defeats Captain America. And let's see, he gets steady. And then, so that means if Professor X comes out, we can't do anything about that. So that might, he would have to do that twice to actually stop him from thwarting. So we might not bother with Professor X. All right. And then, so he gets steady. When revealed, deal each player an encounter card. So let's get that out. And then Captain America cannot take damage this phase. So he can't take any more damage at this point during my turn. And then forced response is still the same. After Cap's shield is attached to Captain America, give him a tough status card. So we've been able to prevent him from getting the Cap's shield back this entire time here. So he hasn't gotten it back yet because we've been protecting him. All right. So let's go ahead and let's play. So we'll use team building exercise to decrease Beak's cost by 1 and also use the Ice Blast to pay for Beak, and that makes 3 X-Men allies in play. So after you play Beak from your hand, remove 1 threat from a scheme for each X-Men ally you control. I'm going to get rid of playing with fire. 1, 2, 3. And when defeated, this side scheme, the player who defeated this scheme discards the top 3 cards of their deck and takes 1 indirect damage for each resource icon discarded this way. So discard 3 cards. 1, 2, 3, and that has 2 resource icons on it. So if we take 4 indirect damage, yes, we take 4 indirect damage altogether. And I'm just going to, that could be problematic if I let all 4 of this happen and we don't do any healing. Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, let's have Beak take 1 of that. And Rock Slide take 1, so that's 2, and then I'll let Iceman take 2 of it. Yeah, it could be problematic because we have the other Iceman Nemesis cards that can also deal indirect damage to us. So yeah, that's we're gonna play that safe there. Okay, so go ahead and get rid of that card now. All right, And then we played Beak. I forgot about that. So, or no, I didn't. We just took care of that. So Utopia triggers and Iceman gets ready. And Iceman could attack again, I guess. But let's go ahead and chill out here. So, yeah, let's use chill out. So I'm going to use these two and play chill out. And that's going to get rid of these three and get rid of this card altogether. And then that puts one more set-aside copy of Frostbite on Captain America. Okay, so now he has 3 on there, and he has an attack of 3, so he's kind of neutralized, mostly neutralized. And so, let's see, he can't take damage, but can he be attacked? Hold on. Captain America cannot take damage, but he can be attacked. But wait, can you attack if you... Yeah, we can deal damage, right? Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to attack one more time because I'd like to get a freeze counter on him and guarantee that we're not going to take any damage when we defend. Oh no, I'd like to be able... Do I want to attack next round? Yeah, let's just remove a threat. And then I think we should remove a threat with Rock Slide. Boy, so iffy. Oops, that's 3 damage on him now. Okay, so remove a threat. At least he only takes 1 consequential when he's thwarting. Okay, so we got that a little bit safer. And then we'll leave it at that. And then next round, we'll be able to use this. Okay, so let's ready up. All right, and it's Captain America's turn. Let's put 1 threat on the main scheme, and he's going to attack. So he's attacking for 3 and -3 for the Frostbite. So he's actually attacking for 0 right now. I am going to defend. Oh, I forgot to draw my hand size. Okay. All right. And then I am going to defend and hope that we don't take damage here. And so let's see. Hopefully it's 2 or less. And it resolved the boostability of each minion engaged with you. Nice. So we actually take no damage at all with the 2 defense, but we wouldn't have taken it anyway. Discard the Frostbites for their forced response. And Cryokinetic Perception triggers, drawing us a card. And it is an ice card, so we're ready. Nice. Okay, now he already has 1 encounter card. Let's deal another one. Let's reveal the first one. Surge. Get another encounter card. Reveal the top card of the encounter deck. So let's do that. And boom. Discard the top 2 cards of your deck. Take 1 indirect damage for each resource icon discarded this way. So there's 1, 2, just 2 cards? Yeah, because Pyro's not in play. So we took 2 damage. Yeah, we took 2 damage there, 2 indirect damage. We could give it to somebody else to be safe, because I could get another one of those. And then we would lose. Well, no, we have these guys as a backup to take that damage. Okay, all right. So yeah, I'm just going to have him take both points of that damage. All right. And then let's reveal the next one. We have guard. And when revealed, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. 1, 2, 3. All right. And then next one, the villain schemes. Okay, so he's going to bust this. He's scheming for 3, 4. What is this here response? Okay, it's just he still has Stalwart. Okay. Oh, he had Stalwart altogether. Okay, we were never going to be able to use... I forgot about that. He had this Stalwart altogether. Okay. So I should put a little icon on that just to represent it. Okay, so let's go ahead and scheme for him. So he's scheming for 2, 3. Flip that over. 4, 5. Okay. And that, of course, does bust this main scheme. Let's get rid of those. And let's see. It doesn't say anything special here. Flip it over. The enemy leader gets +1 ATK, but while attacking, +2 ATK instead if it is undefeated. So I'm going to put 2 tokens on him to represent that he could get up to 2 extra damage. So he attacks for 3. He's attacking for 5 basically right now. If the attack is undefended, attacking for 4 no matter what. Okay. Okay, so now it's our turn. We definitely want to get rid of this card here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually attack with Rock Slide and take 2 consequential damage and do all 3 of that damage here, getting rid of that Atlantean guard. And let's go ahead and attack with Iceman, dealing 2 damage and putting a frostbite on him. And then let's see. Yeah, we can get Snow Clone out. So let's attack with Polaris for 2 damage and take consequential damage there. And then let's get Snow Clone out. So we'll do reduce the cost by 1 with Team Building Exercise plus Ice Blast. And we'll get Snow Clone out, readying Iceman. Iceman will attack for 2 more, down to 16, getting Frostbite out. And then I think, let's see, we'll attack with Snow Clone, doing 2 more damage, down to 14. We'll keep Beak as a defender. And then I'm going to use the X-Jet to play Protective Training on Rock Slide so that Rock Slide can deal some more damage there. So let's get 3 more hit points on Rock Slide. And then, let's see, do we want to hold on to these? I'm going to get rid of Chill Out because I really want to attack on our next play. Do we have, can we safely go down to Alter Ego Side? Let's see how many advances we have over here. We have both advances over here. I don't actually know if Captain America has something that will allow him to go again. So I'm just going to take the risk. I'm going to go down to this side. We're going to get 2 Frostbites back in our deck. And, oh, one of them's frozen solid, but I said I wanted some attacks. So let's see what we have. Chill Out, Ice Blast, at least does damage. Chill Out again. Here we go, Arctic Attack. So that could allow us to do 6 damage. And Snow Clone. And here's another Arctic Attack. So I'm going to put both of those in here. We only have 12 cards in there now. We had 2 Frostbites out, so that's why with this ability, Cool Off, after you change to this form, shuffle 1 ice card from your discard pile into your deck for each copy of Frostbite in play. All right, so keep the order there, but shuffle our deck. And then let's go ahead and ready up and draw our hand size. Do we get any of those? We didn't get any of those. Okay, so we know in here are those other attack cards, but we're going to be able to do quite a bit of damage, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's put 1 threat on the main scheme. He has 2 scheme plus 1 more, so 3 scheme, and then minus the 2 frostbite. So he's scheming for 1, plus this card makes 2. So 1, 2, we're pretty safe there. And then get rid of those frostbites. And then let's go ahead and get our encounter card, reveal that. When revealed, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If you're in alter ego form, place 1 threat on the main scheme for each different card type discarded this way. Okay, we can survive that. Here's the first one, is an upgrade. The second one is another upgrade. The third one is an ally. So that's just 2 different cards, so card types. So we'll put 2 more threat on that scheme. Okay, so the question is, do we need to heal up, or are we going to be able to deal 14 damage to finish off the villain right now? So let's calculate that. We're going to get 3 damage here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we get one of these out, we'll be able to deal 9. And then you again is 10, 11 when we ready up. So no, we're not going to be able to finish this off. So just to be safe, I am going to heal up for 4, get us back to 6. Okay. And then now let's go ahead and flip over to our hero side. Let's attack with Rock Slide first for 3 damage. Getting him down to Captain America down to 11. We take 2 consequential, which puts us up to 7, but we can take up to 9 damage. So we're still good there. Okay. And then let's see, what are we going to do? Let's go ahead and use Beak to get rid of 1 threat from the main scheme. Yeah, we'd better keep that safe. Take the consequential there. And then just to make sure, let's going to get a frozen solid out. So I'll use Team Building Exercise plus this double. Team Building Exercise, let's see, this is ice traded, so we can use it for this. Okay. So now we're going to keep him from at least attacking. That's not, but afterwards, it'll put a copy of Frostbite on him, so that'll help with this. Okay. All right, and then let's go ahead and get Oh, we probably could have put a ready for a fight out instead. Okay, so we can defend. Yeah, this is okay. All right, so let's go ahead and play. Let's play Legion because we can't play 2 of these anyway. Okay, so we'll play Legion, and that lets us trigger Utopia and ready Iceman. Iceman's going to attack for 2, get him down to 9, and put another Frostbite on here with his ability. Okay, or a first one on there. And then that'll trigger Cryokinetic Perception. And we don't ready. Okay, and now that there's a Frostbite on here, we can freely attack with Snow Clone without consequential damage, doing 2 more damage. And then we're going to play this safe. We're going to let Legion get rid of 1 threat. And, oh, actually, we don't want to put that consequential on there yet. Okay, and then it has this response. After Legion uses a basic power, discard the top card of your deck. And then we'll have to look at the resources to see what happens. So what resource is it? It is an energy. So remove 2 threat from a scheme. Okay, nice. So that really made things very safe. Now we can put the consequential damage on him. Okay. The reason that mattered, by the way, is if he had discarded a physical resource, he would have healed 2 damage, and that wouldn't, the timing wouldn't have been right on that. So the consequential damage happens last. Okay, let's ready up. And we're clearly in really good shape here. I'm not sure what could possibly happen that could prevent us from finishing this game on our next turn. Okay, so let's go ahead and start Captain America's turn, add 1 threat to the main scheme. And he can't attack because of Frozen Solid. Detach that and put another Frostbite on him. Discard Frozen Solid. And he has 1 card out and counter card out, and so he needs another. Let's get this first one. So we must have decked out, huh? Yeah, we decked out. All right, so that's why I had the encounter card out there. When revealed, discard the top 2 cards of your deck, and we'll take 1 indirect damage for each resource icon discarded this way. Okay, so 1 damage, 2 damage. So we just took 2 indirect damage. We will just take that to get down to 4. And then his next encounter card, if Cap's shield is attached to Captain America, deal 2 damage to each character you control. Otherwise, attach Cap's shield to Captain America. Okay, so that could delay things a little bit, but we have 2 Arctic attacks now, so we're in good shape. So we're going to attach this to Captain America. And Captain America has this ability, after Cap's shield is attached to Captain America, give him a tough status. So he now has a tough status. So we're going to have to do an extra attack to get rid of that. And then he still has these frostbites on him, so because he did not himself do anything. So let's get started. Anybody do just 1 damage? Yeah, so let's let Legion start off by attacking and dealing 1 damage to get rid of that tough. And then we'll discard a card. And that's triage, that's an energy, which deals 2 damage to an enemy. So very nice. So we are now going to deal 2 damage to an enemy. He did take, retaliate 1, right? So he did take that retaliate damage. Okay. All right, so we deal 2 damage to an enemy. So he started at 7, now he's down to 5 damage. Okay. And then Iceman is going to attack and deal 2 damage. So bring him down from 5 to 3. Okay. And also use his ability, so the frostbite should have gone on there first. Okay. And then there's a retaliate, but forced response. After a hero or the Captain America leader uses their ATK to attack and damage attached character, attach Cap's shield to the attacker. That's a forced response, so I'm pretty sure that happens after the retaliate. So we will take 1 retaliate damage, but now that shield is ours. Okay. And after this, we have our response with Cryokinetic Perception, so we're going to draw a card. Okay, and then we'll let Snow Clone attack for 2, so we're down to 1. And then Rock Slide can attack for 2 more damage, taking 2 consequential, so that is going to defeat him for 3 more damage, excuse me. So that's down to 0. And it would be 2 more extra on top of that, right? So we've done 7 damage plus this 2. So we've done 2 extra damage. I'm just going to put it up to the total amount of damage we've dealt because I'm kind of curious about what we're going to get here. So 7 plus 2, we're up to 9 total damage. 7 of it defeated him. Okay. All right, so, but the Consequential does defeat Rock Slide, so he's gone. Okay, but he did his job big time in different ways than I expected. He prevented a lot of indirect damage in this deck. So I wasn't expecting that at all. Okay. All right, so there are plenty of Frostbites on here, so let's start off by playing this double to use Arctic Attack. And Arctic Attack, we can choose one. We're going to choose the bottom. Deal 6 damage to an enemy with Frostbite attached, so 6 more damage, so 9 up to 15 points of damage altogether. And then we'll use Team Building Exercise plus Polaris to do another Arctic Attack. And so we end up doing 6 more damage for a total of 21 points of damage on this final round. Okay, so pretty good damage there, and the deck didn't work out the way I was hoping that people would see. I really love it when we end up with, Rock Slide. Well, Rock Slide stayed out as long as he could. Dealt at least 6 points of damage altogether. Did some thwarting surprisingly. Absorbed a lot of damage. We also did get Rogue out, and again, I like Rogue to stay out for a longer time than she did. But she still was able to do what she does, right? So she was able to attack for 4 damage multiple times, thwart for 3 as well. So she did her job, right? So those are the main things, is seeing that the allies are meant to be doing a big part of the heavy lifting in this deck, but also meant to set up Iceman so that he can do his thing as well. And you saw he did his share of damage at the end. Okay, so that's it there. But note that I just want to point out that there are times when Rock Slide ends up dealing, Rock Slide can get one of those, that attachment on him and attack every time. And so with 9 points on him and 2 consequential damage, he can attack for 12, 13, 15 points of damage altogether, because he has 6, that makes 9 hit points. So with 3 attacks, he would use up all of that. So he can do 9 points of damage there. But if both he and Rogue are out, then Rogue can end up doing 5 points of damage, and we can maximize that damage even further when Rogue attacks using her ability. And then, so those are some of the games where I played where that happened was really impressive. But you can tell this deck can really do a good job. Captain America has his challenges for sure. And this deck did a really nice job against Magneto as well. Very much controlled Magneto throughout the game in both Standard and Expert. At least in the second game in Expert. Magneto was just going crazy on me in the first game and defeated me quite quickly with Threat. But in the second game, it was a whole different story. We were under control the whole time against Magneto as well. Putting those frostbites on him and freezing him with frozen solid regularly. Okay, so I hope you appreciate this demo gameplay. And if you do, please like and subscribe, and feel free to comment to help the channel grow. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.